Classic TV and movie fans, Rick Nineg here. Thank you so much for joining me today. We're going to be talking about the amazing and iconic film, The Wizard of Oz. If you haven't seen this film, you totally need to check it out. I want to talk about amazing, mind-blowing facts that you did not know about this movie. I think I can make 40 videos just on this movie and such interesting facts, but we're going to get right into it. I thank you for supporting the channel. Let's get right into talking about Toto. Now, everyone loved the dog in The Wizard of Oz named Toto, but you may not know that the original name of Toto, or the real life name of Toto, was Terry. And yes, Terry was a female dog, not a male dog like in The Wizard of Oz, which he was playing. Now, Terry did her own stunts and was in fact seriously injured during the filming of Wizard of Oz. Now, with one of the guards in the movie, one of the actors, accidentally stepped on Toto's foot, breaking it. Now, the dog Terry spent 2 weeks recuperating at Judy Garland's residence. Now, Garland developed a close attachment to the dog and offered to buy Terry from the owner, but the owner refused. Now, the salary of Terry was equivalent to $2,400 in today's valuation. That's more than many of the human actors in the film, which is absolutely mind-blowing. Terry passed away at the age of 11 in 1945. Now, who can't love Scarecrow, Tin Man, and the Lion? Well, a little bit about the Scarecrow. The face makeup that was used on the actor Ray Bolger, it consisted of a rubber prosthetic that had a woven pattern in it that suggested or gave the look of a cloth made of burlap. Now, when filming was finished for the movie, this prosthetic left a pattern of lines on his real face that took about a year for them to vanish. Imagine how crazy that makeup would have been and the crease lines that it made on his face that were essentially permanent for a year. Now, one of the great scenes of this movie is when Dorothy and the gang, they reach Emerald City and they're on that stagecoach with the horse that's pulling him, and the horse changes colors, right? Well, there were several horses that were used for this scene, and they were colored with a gelatin powder. Now, the scenes had to be shot very, very quickly for the transitions because the horses started to lick the gelatin powder off of them, and of course it messed up the effect. So that's why these scenes are very quick. Judy Garland was brilliant in this movie. She was only 16 years old when this movie was filming, and they wanted her to look even younger than that, so she wore a painful corset style device around her torso. What did this do? Well, it would give her an appearance of being younger and essentially more flat chested, so that during filming, she would look more like she was a pre-adolescent child and would fit the role of Dorothy Gale. Now, the Cowardly Lion was played by Burt Lair. Now, his costume was heavy, and I'm not kidding here. This isn't an exaggeration. It weighed 90 pounds. Now, the material that it was made from was real lion skin, and it was extremely hot. How hot? Well, it wasn't unusual for temperatures to go above 100 degrees Fahrenheit, and that's because the arc lights that were used on the ceiling of the soundstage, they heated everything up. Now, Lair, the actor, would sweat so much wearing the 90-pound real lion skin suit that he would sweat like crazy, and the costume would be soaked by the end of the day. In fact, they hired 2 people whose only job during the movie, between filming and at the end of the day, was to spend the whole night drying it for the next day because it was soaked in his sweat. Now, occasionally they did dry clean it, but in the words of one of the crew members, they said this suit absolutely reeked. Now, I was definitely scared of her, Margaret Hamilton. She was creepy, and she had that witchy look to her, and she seemed so evil. But apparently, she was one of the sweetest women on earth, and she did have a severe accident on the set of The Wizard of Oz, and you can in fact see it in this scene where she is going to disappear. You will notice that she comes to the position where the effect is going to happen, and you see a kind of a contraption that comes up and a puff of smoke, that red smoke. Well, this was supposed to happen, but the smoke happened a little bit before its cue, and you can see it. This was the take that they used for the movie. They decided, that didn't look too great. Let's film this again. Now, in the second take, Margaret Hamilton's cape got caught in the platform when the fire burst appeared. Now, her makeup on her face, that green makeup, heated up so much that it caused second and third degree burns on her hands and on her face. And later, people discovered that one of the key components in her makeup was copper, so it conducted the heat so well and so efficiently, which was, of course, unfortunate. And this is why you'll notice in the final take of the movie, they used the first take. That is where the smoke comes out a little earlier, because that was obviously better than the second take where she got burned. Now, after Margaret Hamilton was burned, they had to remove the green makeup from the burned area of her face. And to do so, you won't believe what they used. They used a strong solvent, acetone, which when they rubbed it on her burned areas, they caused her agonizing pain. I mean, think about this. This is 1939, so things weren't advanced back then. Oh my goodness, the suffering she must have gone through. Now, I have to talk about this because it's absolutely mind-blowing, and that is the scene with the poppy fields. Now, that's the one, if you remember, where Dorothy and the Cowardly Lion fall asleep. Well, the quote-unquote snow they use for those camera shots was made of 100% industrial-grade chlorostyle asbestos. Like, really? Asbestos? Such a toxic material. And despite the fact of those health hazards, they already had known that it wasn't good for years, and they still used it. I mean, it's a wonder that any of them didn't get seriously sick because of it, especially, of course, Judy Garland and Burt Lair, who played the Cowardly Lion. That is absolutely amazing. I can't believe they did that. Now, I know. A lot of people are asking about this. There is a story out there that talks about an unfortunate hanging that happens during the movie. I'll tell you about it. It's the one where the Tin Man, Scarecrow, and Dorothy, they all march off and they're singing "We're Off to See the Wizard." Now, off in the distance, to the right, there are some trees, and people have rumored or have said the story that someone was ending their life during the filming in the background, but this is completely 100% not true. What they did, and you can look at this when you look at the HD quality, they released a lot of crested cranes and birds basically in the background to make it look kind of like spooky, like animals were kind of residing in the area. And one of these crested cranes stretched its wings, and several of these large birds were allowed to do this, and it gave the appearance of what was seen as this event happening. It gave the look of mysterious creatures lurking in the woods, but it was no one doing that to themselves, which is of course a big relief. Now, you know, during the beginning of the movie, that quote-unquote tornado, well, remember, they didn't have crazy special effects. This was before CGI, computer graphics, even green screen, real projection was used. But what they did to make this tornado, they had a 35-foot long muslin stocking, essentially a female stocking that was spun around, and they had miniatures of a Kansas farm and fields in this dusty atmosphere, and this tornado, essentially animatronic of a leg stocking, was used, and it gave the impression that we saw on screen. That is awesome. The Tin Man, one of my favorites, was played by the actor Jack Haley. I don't think I could imagine anyone else playing that part, but they actually cast someone before. Buddy Ebsen, yes, Beverly Hillbillies, everyone. Now, he had been cast as the Scarecrow. However, Ebsen then swapped roles with actor Ray Bolger, who was originally cast as the Tin Man. A little confusing there. That was because Bolger wanted to play the Scarecrow, and Ebsen did not object to the change. However, Ebsen soon began experiencing sense of being sick. He had body aches, muscle cramps, shortness of breath, eventually leading to being hospitalized. Now, the doctors determined that he had aluminum dust in his lungs, and that was used in the Tin Man makeup, and it coated his lungs and kept his blood from being oxygenated, so he was forced to leave the production. That is insane to think about. In fact, for the rest of his life, Ebsen complained of breathing problems from his involvement in that damn movie. That's what he called it. However, he outlived all the major cast members of the film, with only some Munchkin actors and extras outliving him. Simply amazing. I mean, Judy Garland's portrayal of Dorothy Gale was so iconic, not just for the film, but it ring true for TV shows in the future. One, Gilligan's Island. Now, you may not know that the main inspiration for the character of Mary Ann on Gilligan's Island was Judy Garland's portrayal of Dorothy from Kansas, of course, and that is where Mary Ann was from as well. Isn't that amazing? It kind of comes full circle, and I talk a lot about Gilligan's Island on this channel if you knew. If you want to see more videos like this, or if you like this, let me know down in the comments below. Who is your favorite character? What is your favorite scene of the movie? I absolutely love this movie. It was a little scary when I was a kid at some points, to tell you the truth, but I really do love it. It's one that in the future I want to show my kids when I have them. Tell me your thoughts down below. I'd love to hear them all. We'll see you all next time, and don't forget, everyone, be hopeful.